It is a case where tabloid journalism has played a key role. The criminal hush money trial of former President Donald Trump took a real turn toward the scandalous yesterday. Porn star Stormy Daniels on the witness stand. Prosecutors asked her questions about that alleged sexual encounter with Donald Trump in 2006. They got into a lot of detail here. For example, what type of underwear was the former president wearing? Trump also allegedly revealed that he and his wife Melania don't sleep in the same room. Our reporter in the courtroom, Ayanna Harry, said that Trump appeared to be red-faced and embarrassed at the defense table as he listened to the testimony from Daniels. With us now for more on this, Jeremy Saland, a former assistant district attorney with the Manhattan DA's office, a defense attorney now. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
It is a moment when the jurors have to listen to more detail than they probably thought they were going to get. What is the likely intent of prosecutors in delivering this explicit detail in a case that ultimately is about falsified accounting records?
Yeah, I don't think the prosecutors wanted actually to have it go into that much detail. I think this kind of got its own head of steam and started moving. They need this to complete this narrative of what this is all about. At the end of the day, it has nothing at all to do with falsifying business records. Hush money is hush money, an affair is affair, but it has nothing to do with whether or not there was an attempt to, mess around with and conceal what happened and then try to conceal another crime. But it does complete the narrative, and while motive is not something prosecutors have to prove, it kind of helps establish why Donald Trump would want to do what he did if true.
Right. I want to get into the court transcript a little bit just to characterize the type of testimony. We don't have the benefit of cameras in the courtroom here. Stormy Daniels said when she came into the room, the hotel room, she said, "I wasn't expecting someone to be there," referring to Trump on the bed. "The next thing I know, I was on the bed." There's a lot of explicit detail here, but again, what's the reaction in the courtroom to something like that going to be from the jurors?
Well, I think it's going to captivate them, and it's because sex sells. It sells to a jury, it sells in the news, it sells to the public. It's an interesting component, but it's really somewhat irrelevant. At least, let me rephrase that. That much detail is absolutely irrelevant. It's not important. And what the defense should have done out of the gate is object, and when they're done, they should have objected again and again. And they didn't do so, and this kind of, again, it got ahead of steam, and that's why they ultimately asked for a mistrial to say it went too far and prejudiced my client.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the defense is objecting when they can, but ultimately they had that witness up there on the stand. Did they want to aggressively cross-examine her, or are they hoping her to get her out of the courtroom as fast as they can?
No, they definitely want to cross-examine her. There's a delicate balance, though. When you cross-examine, you don't want to make yourself the center of attention and make the jury not like you because you're too aggressive, but they needed to establish that this is about money for her. She changed her story. There's an agenda here, kind of like they did with Michael Cohen, because she's not a true teller of a story. This narrative is her own selfish narrative. But I will go back to what she says is somewhat irrelevant. She's not the story. The story is, were the business records falsified, and was there an attempt to conceal another crime? But she's a fraudster is what their allegation is, what their argument is going to be.
We, our Spectrum News colleagues in Wisconsin had a chance to do a one-on-one interview with Donald Trump remotely the other day, and he indicated that he would be prepared to testify. It was a little vague on it. If you were Trump's defense attorney, would you put him on the witness stand in this case?
If I were Trump's defense attorney, I would have grabbed him by the shoulders, proverbially, maybe even literally, and told him to shut his mouth outside the courtroom. I get you have an agenda with your politics and the election, but I would try to quiet him down. In the courtroom, he will hurt himself. I don't see him being successful testifying in his own defense. Crazier things have happened. What he says one day may not be what he does the next day, so I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I wouldn't want him on the stand.
Yeah, let's talk about that behavior outside the courtroom, because he got his 10th gag order violation. The judge said, "I don't want to put you in jail. You're a presidential candidate. That's not going to end well for any of us." Again, do the attorneys have any say over this? Can they or the judge speak to Trump in stern enough terms that he will withhold his keyboard fingers on Truth Social?
Can they? Yes. Will it be effective? I don't think so.
Okay.
And I think it's so important to understand that in that courtroom, Trump is innocent until if and when proven guilty, whether he's wearing blue goggles or red goggles. But outside that courtroom, he's doing such a grave disservice to the criminal justice system and the belief and foundation of law and order. And his attorney should be grabbing him, and the judge should be holding him accountable.
The federal documents case, the Florida case, got pushed back now, probably after the election. Is that typical of a complicated case that it would get bumped back in the calendar like that? Well,
one of the things that Judge Cannon said is there was many motions that were still pending. Well, then you know what? Deal with them and address them and do your job and move the case forward. So, you know, it's disheartening that it's all taking this long, not whether he's innocent until proven guilty, if and when, but these things all need to move forward at some point.
Well, and that's why I think you've now got the allegations about, is this a Trump-friendly judge that is making that decision? Jeremy Saland, thanks for coming in this morning. We always appreciate your insight. I'm sure there will be more of that required as the weeks go on.